Hi and welcome to my presentation. My name is Leander from Nowtilus. Today I want to show you a great new concept we are working on. We call it BRiDGEBuiLDER. BRiDGEBuiLDER will become an integrated part of BRiDGE, our cloud-based workflow management platform for IP video delivery. We thought it would be great to make it even more simple to design workflows in a visualized way, and at the same time supporting not only live and video on demand, but also live to VOD and ad insertion. So let me show you how we design workflows. At first we start creating a new one. We give it a name, which should describe what we finally want to accomplish. In this case, we want to encode and publish video on demand. We can put further description. In this case, I say I want to output HLS and dash. The category for this would be video on demand. I save it, it appears in the list, and I choose it now for designing. On my canvas, I add the first element. For video on demand, I'm using ingest from a watch folder. Let's assume we have our files stored today at AWS S3, and I want to ingest video files. Next, I choose my transcoding. In the protocol, I can select how I want to finally transport the files to my encoder. I use FTP. Then I select Akamai Media Services on Demand and my profiles for the transcoding. Next, I select the packaging. Here again, I'm using Akamai Media Services on Demand, and I want to output HLS. I also want to implement file-based quality control. I have an element for this that I connect right with my transcoder. Components integrated are VidChecker and Baton. I'm using VidChecker for now. I want to check if there are any drop frames. So finally, if there would be any, it would be corrected and then retransmitted to my origin. Next, I'm using the CDN where I want to publish the content. I'm using Akamai here and select my output source. Next, I'm selecting the API gateway. That's finally my title manager where the files will be available for further applications. It's an internal component, and I assign it to a catalog. Next, I add metadata. Metadata again is an import element, and we have certain capabilities and sources here. In this case, I use the Entertainment ID registry IDAR and the standard movie labs. I connect it with the API gateway, so all the metadata will be available also at the gateway. Finally, we have established a workflow from ingesting from a watch folder, transcoding up in the cloud, having file-based quality control and correction, delivering to a just-in-time packaging process, delivering on a CDN, making all available on an API gateway, and adding metadata to it. Once activated, I can see that the workflow is running and in process. So after creating a new workflow, I choose the one from my list of workflows. At first, I see a clean canvas. That's our workflow design board, and I add a new element. In this case, I select ingest from an IRD. An element represents a node which has certain capabilities. In this case, it's for signal acquisition from a satellite. I can have input and output protocols and can choose from different manufacturers such as Blancom, PeerTV and others. For my presentation, I use a PeerTV. After this, I can select the channel which is available on this IRD. I'm going for BBC World. I can see the element is still in idle mode and add the next one. I'm using an elemental encoder. And I can choose from pre-configured encoding profiles, both containing best practice settings for high and standard definition. I choose HD. I can test it, and I can see the components are running. In the next step, I choose the transport. I now transport my signal from on-premise up to the cloud. I have different capabilities here, like Akamai Broadcaster. And I can select my setting format. In the next step, I decide for the just-in-time packaging. Here I have Akamai Media Services Live as my first choice. And I choose from the package I want to output. In this case, it's HLS. The next is the CDN for delivery. I have Akamai implemented and can also select the right package for output. In this case again, HLS. If I want, I can test all the components and see they're running. I can also define the delivery method into the CDN. Next, I assign the streams to an API gateway to make the streams available for an outside system. It's an internal component, and I assign it to a bouquet. That's key to my media pipeline. Next, I add other elements. In this case, I choose metadata in order to add scheduled program data for the stream. We have different data providers implemented. For this showcase, I use Rovi. And I use the channel map in order to have the right channel available. I assign it to the gateway, and now I make sure that finally EPG data and streams are both available via the API gateway. Now I can also add additional elements to my workflow. One could be clipping, so that means I create a live to VOD. Since I already deliver into the cloud to Akamai, I will also use Akamai Media Services Live for this, and the profile will be MP4. The program I can also archive in the CDN, and I use Akamai Net Storage for this, and stay with MP4. I also want to publish directly on a social media website, and I can add this component to publish on Facebook. And also choose HLS for live here. Finally, I have a workflow now from ingest to transcode, transporting up to the cloud, creating a live stream on Facebook, doing just-in-time packaging at Akamai, delivering via Akamai, and make the stream available via an API gateway. I'm adding a live to VOD workflow to archive the programs and have metadata connected with the API gateway. I can now test everything and see the components are running. Thank you for your attention.